after so much speculation after the Brazilian Grand Prix about what happened to Lewis Hamilton's engine failure, it appears that it was actually 5 mechanics who worked on Lewis Hamilton's car that damaged Hamilton's engine at the Brazilian Grand Prix. This is the first piece of news that we've heard about this, so we're not 100% sure what their reasons were behind this and why they did it in the first place, but Mercedes have confirmed that the engine investigation has shown that 5 of Mercedes' own mechanics that worked on Hamilton's car damaged Lewis Hamilton's engine at the Brazilian Grand Prix. We will be able to get more updates on this hopefully by the next round, or maybe at the end of this round, and find out why they did this and obviously what the punishment is going to be for such an idiotic piece of work from these mechanics. Also, the other bit of breaking news to come in for today's race is that Red Bull are going to have a meeting about the future of their driver program. Red Bull have been doing very well this year and have been challenging Mercedes and Ferrari, but have dropped off the pace ever so slightly. However, their biggest concern is with Toro Rosso, with the pace of the Toro Rosso car being absolutely dreadful, and it's causing finances to really be on the balance. Red Bull are set to have a meeting where they will discuss whether it be a good option to just ditch the Red Bull driver program, have one full proper Red Bull team, and go straight from there. Hopefully we'll be able to find out the date for this driver meeting and see what they have to say. Heading then into the transfer centre for this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix, and Renault have officially accepted Williams' counteroffer for Robert Kubica. As you may have seen, Renault offered £25 million in order to sign Robert Kubica from Williams in place of Sergei Sorokin. Williams initially declined that offer and posted a counteroffer saying that they wanted £10 million plus also Sergei Sorokin as part of the deal. This has officially been accepted by Renault, and personal terms and contract agreements need to be met. So Robert Kubica will be joining Renault and will take place from Sergei Sorokin at the next Grand Prix. So this will both be Sergei Sorokin and Robert Kubica's final Grand Prix for their respective teams. With Red Bull under pressure, Brendan Hartley and Nico Carey may be looking for new seats. Of course, as the news just broke, Red Bull are hosting a meeting to try and discuss the future of their entire team and their entire program. If Red Bull decide to ditch Toro Rosso, then of course Brendan Hartley and Nico Carey are going to need to start looking around for some seats. Fernando Alonso has stated that he will stay with McLaren until the end of the season, at least for the time being. There's been speculations of Red Bull trying to sign him and also Mercedes, but Alonso says he's happy with McLaren, he will stay there to the end of the season, and from there he'll make his choice heading into next season. Also, some interesting news coming out of Ferrari, and that is Sebastian Vettel is upset with the way Ferrari are handling the transfer policy. Of course, at the end of the last episode, we saw that Ferrari were interested in signing Thomas Fox, but they said that they weren't really going to do anything in this transfer window, maybe something in the next transfer window when the season has finished. And Vettel says that he's upset with this, saying that it puts a lot of pressure on himself and Max Verstappen, and feels that there's a sense of uncertainty about it. Even if they do really well, they may not even have a drive for next season. So very interesting stuff coming out there from Sebastian Vettel in this transfer centre. But that is it for the transfer centre, so we will see you guys next time. As we head into the weekend, though, for the Canadian Grand Prix itself, it appears that Max Verstappen is looking very good on his tyres compared to his rivals. All the teams going out are reckoning that this could be potentially a 2-stop race. However, Max Verstappen has been doing very well on his race pace that it looks like Max may actually be able to convert his into a 1-stop race. This could be crucial heading into this Canadian Grand Prix. The two drivers that look set to do battle are actually Lewis Hamilton and Thomas Fox here at the Canadian Grand Prix. Both were very quick in qualifying in simulation runs and also in race pace. Of course, Lewis Hamilton has shown so much success around here. Also, Thomas Fox states this is one of his favourite tracks to drive, and he says that he's looking to really take the fight in this championship. Also, Williams are unsure on why they're lacking so much pace. They've made a few updates coming into the Canadian Grand Prix, but it hasn't really pushed them anywhere. In fact, it's kind of pushing them in the wrong direction. Paddy Lowe states that he's extremely confused on why this is happening, and he says that he's going to have to do a lot of work with Williams to try and push them further up the order. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is FoxyDude98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 Journey. Today we're here for the 5th round of this series, and I'm having so much fun making this series. And today we are here for the Canadian Grand Prix itself, and very interesting circuit nonetheless. It's probably one of my favourite circuits to drive on this game, just because of how fun it is. And as you can see, this is my first run in which I completely mounted the curb at about 10 million miles an hour there. Turned in way too early, unfortunately, but today we're here for this Canadian Grand Prix. And a few things that I just need to quickly discuss then into this video. I'm not going to go into them in great detail. It's basically just some people, you know, stating something that they're unhappy about and whatnot. But as you can see then, we're going to be going through on our final qualifying lap, but I actually am going to show this one in full. As this is my best lap that I've ever done. Now, of course, with this F1 journey, I've never actually raced any F1 circuit on F1 2017 without corner line before. So this is all a brand new experience to me, so I'm trying to learn. But as we go through turns 1 and 2, you can see that we're actually a 10th and a half down on our personal best lap. Unfortunately, I just took too much, I went too deep, sorry, into the first set of corners, but we gain a little bit of time now as we come in towards the first sector, going purple in Sector 1. Now, we were already purple in Sector 1. It was Sector 2 and 3 that we were losing out in terms of time, shifting up very, very nicely there as we now come onto the straight here. We're about 2/10 up on our personal best lap. So far, things are going quite well for ourselves. We break about the 75-meter board there, just about keep the car on the track there. I could have probably broken a little bit later, maybe, to try and counter that, but maybe not. As we come in towards the hairpin now, this is unfortunately where the lap time was lost. As you can see, I broke far too early and clipped the apex way too much there, and it just compromised the entire hairpin. So you can see now that we're actually matching our time here. So at the moment, we're going to be qualifying in P5 because we're just, you can see at the delta time there, we're just matching it and then going a bit faster, a bit slower. As we come in towards the final chicane though, this is where the time's going to be made up. As you can see, we managed to mount the chicane perfectly there as we open up the DRS now to come towards the start finish line. It is going to be P2 for this Canadian Grand Prix, and I was really upset with that one, funnily enough, even though it was second on the grid. It's a front row start, and I made a few mistakes. I went deep into the first corner. I also basically broke too early into the hairpin as well, which cost me some time. But as you can see, very close between Lewis Hamilton, myself, and Max Verstappen, the gap being just under half a tenth. And Rosberg, he only set one run in qualifying. You can see that I'm highlighting him there because he's now slower than the Williams cars. And the Audi car, a lot of people say that I have the difficulty too low because the Audi is so fast, but I set the Audi to be as fast as it is. So if you're wondering why Nico is so slow, I don't have a clue. I set the Audi to be as fast as it is. But anyway, having a look at the race strategy now, you can see that we're going to be doing a 2-stop for today's Grand Prix, but I kind of don't want to do a 2-stop. I want to do a 1-stop. I feel that the tyres will do it, so I'm going to push this. So as you can see, I'm going to be doing, I'm going to select the 2-stop, but I'm going to give myself the option of the 1-stop. So that's what we're going to do today then here for the Canadian Grand Prix. As we get underway now for this race, and hopefully we can have a good one, and hopefully we can try and continue our fantastic run of form at the moment and try and pull away in this Drivers' Championship. That's what the aim is, because of course this is my favourite track. I need to do well here before we get to the likes of Monaco, which will be a nightmare if I even am allowed to race for Monaco, that is. We've got 5 red lights, and it is lights out here for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. It's been a very good start for myself, actually, a very good one. You can see that we're alongside Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton brakes quite early in towards turn 1. I do brake really late, but that gives me the inside line that I can tuck into for the apex of turn 2, and you can see that I just about make the move stick here, as now we've got Pierre Gasly defending from Max Verstappen as they come in towards turns 3 and 4 now, and you can see that we've managed to set ourselves very much in a line here. As you can see now, Vettel there ahead of Ricciardo, and you can see that we are currently leading the Canadian Grand Prix. So the perfect start we could have asked for. Now we just need to try and work out how good we are in terms of race pace, which we seemed pretty good when I was doing practice. Of course, when it comes to practice sessions, I do about 3 or 4 laps just so I know where to brake in this game, because of course I run with corner line, so normally I know where to brake, but without corner line, I don't really know. So I do about 3 or 4 practice laps, and then I go straight into qualifying as soon as I know where to brake for each corner. So we're coming towards the hairpin now, and we've got a half-second gap between myself and Hamilton, 1.6 back to Gasly. So Gasly under a little bit of pressure now early on in this race, and that is not going to end for Pierre Gasly as we come down the straight now. He's not quite in the slipstream of Lewis Hamilton, but Max Verstappen, he's right in the slipstream of Pierre Gasly, and he's actually going to go for a move here. Here comes Verstappen now, attacking Pierre Gasly in towards the chicane. They go. They're going to compromise each other's lines there. Horrible run for the pair of them, and that's going to put them on the back foot now to the rest of the rivals. You can see everyone flying through. You can see that we've got Daniel Ricciardo trying to go for a move here on, I believe that's Sebastian Vettel. Vettel breaks later though, and now is attacking Carlos Sainz in the background. So Vettel getting quite aggressive early on as he went on the defensive, and now he's back on the offensive here. But Sainz does very well there and defends from Sebastian Vettel as we come now in towards the chicane section here, and all the cars flying through. But this battle, it's just going to keep going onwards. And you can see that there's Lewis Hamilton and myself And we're actually just pulling away very, very quickly from this lot as they continue to fight. Look at the gap that me and Hamilton have got already. I'm actually coming through the chicane right now. And there comes Max Verstappen once again for an attack. You can see, look at Gasly and Verstappen pull away quite a lot. But look how much there's Max there mounting the curb there and going horribly wrong. And that's cost him dearly because here comes Carlos Sainz now for an attack on the Ferrari driver. And Ricciardo behind getting desperate to pass Vettel as well. So both Ferraris under pressure now as we come in towards turn 1 and round the outside in towards turn 2. Can Verstappen get the move done? No, he can't, unfortunately. He can defend it. I meant to say Carlos Sainz can't. But Ricciardo has overtaken Sebastian Vettel. So, unfortunately, it's not going well for Ferrari in this stage of the race. But you can see now it is once again another fight. And Hamilton and myself are gone. You saw me there just in the glimpse of the background, already flying through the chicane, starting my next lap. And you can see this time Verstappen has DRS. But again, look, they're just going to compromise themselves into the chicane, mount the curb, go very, very slowly. Verstappen, though, this time gets a better exit than Pierre Gasly. And this time, Verstappen makes it stick as they're all going for it in the background now, as I believe Ricciardo is on a good run here against Carlos Sainz in towards turns 2 now. Can he make this move stick on Sainz? He's going to get a good run there, and as you can see, Daniel Ricciardo straight in front of Carlos Sainz. Very good move there, and Pierre Gasly now is under pressure from next up Daniel Ricciardo. As you can see, everyone getting held up. Verstappen now beginning to pull away, but unfortunately for Pierre Gasly, this lack of pace that he's showing is just going to keep hurting him, because here comes Daniel Ricciardo now for an attack on Pierre Gasly. You can see, look, he's got good pace, but the fact that they keep fighting and making this horrible mess into this final chicane, that brings the entire field right behind them. Ricciardo, though, does get the moves done this time, and unfortunately for Pierre Gasly, he's got more work to do because he's got his teammate Carlos Sainz coming for an attack now as they come in towards turns 1 and 2, and you can see here that Sainz trying to go down the inside of Pierre Gasly, and he does make it stick on his teammate. So unfortunately for Gasly, just going backwards in this Grand Prix, he just can't seem to find any pace in that Red Bull car at the moment, unlike Carlos Sainz, who's having a very, very good season. And as you can see now for Pierre Gasly, you can kind of tell that it's just going to go horribly wrong here. He's got DRS though this time, so it might be a bit effective for him, but he already goes defensive to the inside line, as he's done every single time now. And as you can see, Sebastian Vettel now is going to be the problem as he mounts the curb here, and that's going to be a problem now because here comes Stoffel Van Dorn in the McLaren, and Vettel going to go defensive on the McLaren here, and oh, he's going to put Van Dorn into the wall there. Jeez, that was like 2011 with Button and Hamilton there, but luckily for Van Dorn, he managed to back out of it there. So Vettel super aggressive on the defense there, and here comes Sergio Perez now for an attack on Sebastian Vettel now side by side in towards the chicane now. Who's going to come out on top? Vettel goes around the outside. He's going to hold it here. Aggressive defending from Sebastian Vettel, really getting the elbows out here. And as you can see now, that is put Alonso under some pressure now, because Fernando Alonso is, I think he overtook Stoffel Van Dorn at some point, or maybe Van Dorn was in front of Alonso, so Alonso actually going for a move here on Stoffel Van Dorn, and he's going to make this one stick here. Here comes Alonso now attacking Stoffel Van Dorn yet again, but Van Dorn's going to have the inside line towards turn 2, and this should be Van Dorn's move, and it is going to be Van Dorn's move there. He makes the move stick, and that's also Ocon getting past one of the Renaults there. I believe that is Sergei Sorokin as they come now through this section here, but everyone just having massive fights out there at the moment, and it's kind of crazy. And for myself, as you can quite clearly see why I've shown so many battles, nothing's really happening for me at the moment in this Grand Prix. On to lap 10 of the Grand Prix, and I'm just doing my own thing. Once I get into the groove, I really get into the groove around here. And you can see Hamilton pits now for his first stop of the race. But you can see that I'm still lapping in the 1 minute 14, since that was a bit excessive on the cornering. As we go in towards turns 1 and 2. But yeah, I was just in the groove, and a lot of people say to me, you know, how do you learn racing without corner line? And it's just doing this, just race, you know, that this is the only way to do it. I did literally 3 practice laps, so I knew when to actually brake. As soon as I knew every corner at what point I needed to brake at, I would then just go straight into qualifying, straight into the race, and in these 35 laps of racing, there's your practice, job done. But on to lap 16 of the Grand Prix now, and we fly into the pits there, because I don't use pit limiter, or pit assist, or whatever. I do use pit assist, I think it is, I can't remember. But we're coming into the pits now for our one and only stop. Hamilton's actually in second place and set some fastest laps as we come into the pits now with our Audi pit crew. Unfortunately, as you can see on the left-hand side there, it still says Haas F1 team. I did change that, because someone noticed it. Basically, I did actually find time to try and change that, because I never changed the pit garage. But for some reason, the mod just wasn't working, and I needed to get this video recorded. So if you're wondering why Haas is still there, I did change it. It just didn't work, so I'll have to go back and have a look at it at some other point. But you can see that I stretched my stint out so much, actually, that I was going to pit on a one-stop and go from ultra softs to super soft. Ultra soft to softs. But I stretched the stint out a little bit longer, and the tyres felt brilliant. So I'm now going from ultra soft to soft, to ultra soft and super soft. Bog standard one stop. But unfortunately for Lewis Hamilton, he's not doing that. So really, my closest rival is going to be Max Verstappen, and this is going to be my fastest lap of the race so far. This is where I literally cranked the car up into rich mix and just gave it absolutely everything. Because why? I felt like it. I wanted to just set one fast lap because, of course, Hamilton, I believe it was Hamilton, Ricciardo, and you can see there that I nearly went excessive on the cornering, but we managed to correct it there. I believe it was Hamilton, Sainz, and Ricciardo that all set new fastest laps, and I was a little bit jealous, basically, of them setting fastest laps on their brand new tyres. So I wanted to set a fastest lap on my brand new tyres. So we're going to go and try and do that now as we come towards this long back straight, which is pretty much bog standard. Crank the car up into rich, as you can see there. Verstappen 12.7 seconds back. So that fight that he's had with Pierre Gasly at the start of the race has compromised him horribly in this Grand Prix. So we break it down into fourth gear. Back end slides out a little bit. I'm going to take the shortest run to the line because I want to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, if you don't mind me. 1:13.6, fastest lap, boom. Crank the car back down into standard and get back to racing normally because, of course, I don't want to take too much out of these tyres. As you can see here, onto lap 19 onwards now, it is just me passing some back markers, having a very, very solid race here. And you can see now onto lap 23, Lewis Hamilton has actually made his second stop, so it's Verstappen and Vettel. So both Ferraris are doing the one stop in this race as we overtake Brendan Hartley in the Toro Rosso. Of course, his future in Formula 1 is under pressure with Red Bull considering making changes to their entire program. So he'll need to be careful of that, and he needs to put in some very strong performances for the Toro Rosso team, who are yet to score in this season, which is pretty poor. And as you can see now, onto lap 25 of the Grand Prix, coming up towards some back markers. This was kind of the only action that I really had in this Grand Prix, to be honest. You know, I wasn't expecting to be so fast around Canada. I mean, obviously, in terms of all races that I do at Canada, against the AIs are not fast around Canada. You can destroy the AIs at Canada, but I wasn't expecting to be as fast as this, to be honest. Yeah, as you can see, I use my setup that I always use at Canada. It's kind of like my dream setup, really, for Canada. I have one bold setup that I'll always run at this circuit, which just gives me so much performance, and it worked again for this Audi car. I didn't think it would because the Audi car's a little bit slippery in the rear. But big news there, Sebastian Vettel is out of the Grand Prix. So as I'm talking about my dominance and how I'm doing well with my setups, Vettel's out of the race, and we can see here I couldn't get a replay cam with Vettel, but I could with Hamilton, and that's a mechanical failure because there was no engine smoke. So somewhere or some part of the car has failed for Sebastian Vettel. Horrible stuff. And actually onto the next lap, I actually go past Vettel. There he is there in the background. Unfortunately, he's out of the Canadian Grand Prix, and that's promoted Lewis Hamilton up into third place now. But onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, and it's been a very, very successful race here. I managed to learn how to race on this track very, very quickly. I picked the right setup for this car that I always use, and from there on in, it was just learning, really. It's like it is with every single circuit. As Alonso gets out of the way, we come across the line to win the Canadian Grand Prix, do a little bit of a half spin and basically some dramatic entrances there to round off this Grand Prix. But an absolutely stunning race overall. And here is the race classification then. So I win ahead of Verstappen, Hamilton, Sainz, Ricciardo, Van Dorn, Rosberg, Gasly, Perez, and Ocon, all picking up points today here at the Canadian Grand Prix. But a very, very dominant and strong race. And yeah, that is all for this Canadian Grand Prix. Let's go have a look at the drivers and constructor standings. And then we've got some more breaking news that has just come in after this Grand Prix. Taking a look then at the Drivers' Championship after this Canadian Grand Prix. And as you can see, I have now managed to break the 100-point barrier for Audi, and I'm really, really happy with that one, actually. This was one of the tracks that I definitely was looking to try and win, obviously, with it being one of my strongest circuits. I wanted to try and do well here, and we managed to do that here today. Max Verstappen is now up into second in the championship on 79 points. He is my closest rival at the moment, the two Ferraris. Vettel, after scoring no points today, is on 61 points, stays where he is. Carlos Sainz is now only 1 point ahead of Lewis Hamilton. So Sainz doing a fabulous job at the moment for Red Bull Racing. And Hamilton, Ricciardo, 5th and 6th for Mercedes. Alonso still doing very well. He's still in 7th place on 26 points after not even scoring today. Pierre Gasly, though, doing very, very poor for Red Bull. At the moment, he is still behind Fernando Alonso. Hulkenberg and Van Dorn are tied on points after Van Dorn picked up 8 points today, so very, very good job for him. Nico Rosberg with 7th place, my teammate, getting his best finish so far, but still 90 points off. I think Audi might have to have a word with Nico about his performances. Perez and Ocon both score points today, where they are on 6 points and also on 5 points respectively. Sorokin stays with his 2 points, but of course they'll go to Williams at the start of the next race. And for Stroll, Hartley, Carey, Kubica, Bottas and Verline, they are still yet to score in the F1 journey and in this season. So hopefully they can try and score some more points very, very soon. But let's have a look at the Constructors' Championship. Moving on then into the Constructors' Championship, and as you can see, Ferrari are still leading the way in the Constructors' standings, despite Sebastian Vettel's DNF. However, their championship lead has been cut down, actually, because, of course, Verstappen only scored 18 points, and there were a lot of other teams that actually got more points than Ferrari here today. Audi are second in the championship, so we're doing a very, very strong job. We've actually overtaken Mercedes-Benz now after our positive race weekend, probably our best race weekend in terms of a team, actually, with a win and 7th place. Mercedes 5 points back now on 105 points. Red Bull on 83 points, still lagging behind. McLaren Renault sitting comfortably in 5th, still on 40 points. Renault on 16, and Force India closing the gap to Renault on 11 points, with Williams, Toro Rosso and Sauber still yet to score points. But of course, Williams are going to benefit when the transfer of Kubica and Sorokin goes through, and Renault will take a slight hit, but obviously they really want Kubica, so there is going to be slight changes. But yeah, that is going to be it for the F1 journey. But of course, there is still a bit of breaking news that's come out now. After this Grand Prix, every single team and driver went to the Circuit de Catalunya, and they did the in-season testing for the one time throughout the season. And unfortunately, it hasn't gone well for one of the drivers, so let's go find out. And the one driver that has actually suffered from that in-season testing at the Circuit de Catalunya is Sergio Perez. It has been confirmed that Sergio Perez was injured during testing, and there's actually a slight possibility that he could miss the next Grand Prix at the Italian Grand Prix. George Russell had to take over in testing. We do believe that this was a problem with a delamination of the tyre. Now, Pirelli are doing an investigation on this to find out why. As Perez was entering turn 9, the high-speed right-hander, the tyre basically delaminated, and Perez had no control of the car, and he went straight into the barriers. Perez stated that he suffered an ankle injury, and he said on his Instagram that it was nothing major, but he will have to get it tested beforehand, and he says that he's looking to rest for the weekend. After the car was recovered and repaired, George Russell actually took over in testing. So now it looks to appear like Sergio Perez may actually miss the next race, which does mean that that should pave the way for George Russell to come into the sport and take over from Sergio Perez. But yeah, unfortunately, not good for Sergio Perez. He is injured, and he may actually miss the next race. And who knows, if the ankle injury is worse than first feared, it could be even longer before he's back in Formula 1. But that's it for the F1 journey. We'll find out more on all the latest stories, transfer rumours, and everything else on track as well when we head to the Italian Grand Prix next weekend. Take care all, guys. Thanks for watching.